Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You are still watching NTV Weekend Edition. Now, millions of learners across the country are in their second week of holidays, mostly at home. However, for parents, there is the challenge of dealing with unruly or bored teenagers and some of the older primary school age learners. Some have suggested the old school methods of using corporal punishment to keep them in line. Others think the new school option of mentoring them to embrace modern life are more effective. But how do the teachers manage to keep up with their raging hormones, and what can parents learn from them? Now, to help us appreciate this, we have Joseph Bulime, the head teacher of Uphill Junior Academy, joining us on Talk of the Nation. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Good evening, Madam Midrit. Thank you for hosting me. Good evening, viewers out there. My name is Joseph Bulime, head teacher Uphill Junior Academy. I'm glad to be here. All right.
So to begin with, what do you do to encourage a learner who has returned home with a bad report? Are you quick to cane them, to blame them for the poor performance, or do you sit them down and talk them through what could have been the problem?
I think the best issue would be speaking to them. I think some of you have had instances where children, a child committed suicide because the parent had threatened to beat them. So sitting them down, going through the report, asking them what could have caused that poor performance is the best option other than giving corporal punishment. Yeah.
So are you open to the parent and child having a dialogue other than the parent running to straight away to punishing them, demanding for the good grades?
Of course, the good grades come, but the best option would be sitting this child down, finding out what could have caused this bad performance. We have instances where parents are out of the children's education career. So
what do you mean by out of the
they're
children?
out. When you there are instances when schools invite parents to discuss about the performance of children, and parents never attend. They never show up. Schools usually have visitation days. We have career days. Parents are invited to come, but especially the fathers don't show up. And actually, 99% of parents that go to visit children at school, they're usually mothers. And punishing children, usually they are the fathers who have not tracked reasons to find out why these children are performing like that.
And most parents are actually quick to demand for is it even right for them to be demanding for the good grades? Because you'll hear parents saying, bring me 4, if you don't bring me 4, you're going to, this and this will happen to you. Bring me, even if a child has scored, for instance, 50%, they're quick to actually punish them. Is it okay for parents to demand for good grades from these children?
It is not okay. It's absolutely not okay. One, we need to first find out the causes of this child's performance. Like I said, there are parents who don't visit children at all. A parent who is out of the child's education, there's no way child is going to be motivated.
Even right now, kids are having the holiday packages.
Yes, definitely. And
you will find that the holiday packages will be attended to when it is about 2 days or a week to reporting back to school.
It's very unfortunate the parents are never home. They leave much of what they should have done in the hands of the maids. And some kids are very unruly, that if they don't take instructions from the maids, and the parents come back very late. They leave very early in the morning, come back late in the night. So you don't expect this child to take instruction and probably do what the parent really wants. So it is better parents take more time to help these children to get those basics.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about the mode of punishment. Back in 1992, the government outlawed corporal punishment in schools, but parents think that many of the children who do not undergo this treatment are just spoiled. What do you say?
I call that a myth. Right now, the children's rights have to be protected. Corporal punishment is something that is outdated. what we encourage teachers in schools and even parents out there is to discuss an issue, talk about something, condemn it, so that this child knows that this is not acceptable. But of course, punishing children is outdated, and you might think that you're punishing, but later on, you're just making this child, we call it hardening. Yes.
But you say punishing children is outdated, but if the child is caught, for instance, on the wrong side of the rules and regulations, how do you handle them?
We have counseling sessions in schools. There's counseling, guidance and counseling. So you sit this child down. Of course, you give some moderate punishment, but of course not corporal.
For instance?
You can assemble a child, you can put a child before the others, talk about an act, a wrong act a child has done, and say, it's not acceptable here, and it is punishable. For example, me, what I do, I bring children either from their classes, I sit them and say, you're going to keep the whole of this day in the office. But in the meantime, we're engaging, talking about the good and then the bad.
You don't use the cane at all?
We don't. It is not acceptable.
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
Of course, like I said, it's an outdated saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about instances where learners say they hate their teachers or find it hard to concentrate on their classes for some reason? What is the solution to those?
Maybe children tend to hate teachers who are never lively, who specifically teach those subjects that seem to be very difficult for them, especially mathematics. But we encourage teachers to draw closer to children, make them friends, make them their friends, and in doing so, this child will learn more when they are one-on-one. Yeah.
Okay. So in this dispensation, we do have so many things that tend to take away the attention of learners, or I want to call them distractions. For instance, the TVs, the computers, the phones. How do you inspire learners to do better when these too many distractions at their disposal? Rather.
Of course, at school you don't expect that. For us, we have a timetable. We manage. I know schools out there, they have timetables for a particular activity. If it is entertainment, I think they have a specific time or specific days when it is done. But now when they go home, it is the opposite. Like I said, parents are never home, so it becomes very difficult, very, very difficult for that maid who is left in hands, whose kids are left in their hands. It becomes very difficult for them to control these children. And the parents, I would urge the parents, those gadgets, of course, they are very good, because this modern era, it's the way to go. But then we need to regulate them. If it is a TV, put a parental guidance. If it is a smartphone, there must be some apps that are not recommended to be used by children. Otherwise, so many things are happening out there. Yeah.
Well, I like the comparison that you've drawn from what you've just submitted about school and home. And it also seems like something that, you know, is noticeable, that children are more obedient while they're at school and a little bit complacent while they're at home. What happens in between there?
Like I said, in schools we have school rules and regulations. And anybody who defies the schools and regulations, that tantamounts to a punishment. And children in school fear to be punished. Unlike at home, like I said, that when parents are never home, you don't know what children do in your absence. So there are guidelines that children follow at school, and that's why they are very obedient. Unlike at home, when parents are not there and nothing will happen.
But the guidelines also at home? The
guidelines are there, but they don't bite like they do at school. Yeah.
Okay, so there are concerns that amongst parents that what the children are learning today is either too complicated or way out of their leagues. What is your take on that?
It is not complicated because schools here in Uganda, we are following the national curriculum. That is what we are following. And the minister, of course, designed this curriculum bearing in mind a lot of things. So there's no way schools can teach things that are very complex. So I think I should say it's a myth.
So do you think what is being taught is irrelevant to
Absolutely right and relevant.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if you could address yourself to a frustrated parent out there, what answers would you give them in regards to dealing with their unruly teenager?
Of course, parenting has become a very big challenge in most of the parents. But me, I would urge parents, please, I know the economies of scale today and people have to work hard to make ends meet. But let us not do all these things at the expense of our children. Your absence from the children's life right now will be reflected some time to come in years when you really need them, but they are nowhere to be seen. So I'm appealing to parents, please take your time, draw closer to your children, give them an ear, listen to them, interact with them. Probably you'll get the best out of them.
And this is how you handle them in school?
That is how we do. Yes, please.
All right. Thank you, James Bulime, the head teacher. Joseph Bulime, the head teacher of Uphill Junior Academy. And that conversation takes us in for a short break. When we return, we'll hear from the world of sport.